Every now and then, we like to journey into the creative world of contributor Robert Krulwich and animator Nate Milton. This morning, they're taking us to the Rocky Mountains. And as always, we're traveling first class.
Here's the thing about size. If we have two frogs, one of them is little and the other one is bigger, generally the little guy will croak higher and the bigger guy lower. And you'd see the same thing with birds. Little birds go high, bigger birds lower. And there's a reason for this. If an animal is bigger, it generally has room for a larger larynx, longer vocal tracts, and more space inside to produce a deeper sound. Musicians know this, of course. Your bassoon, sir, for example, is a little longer than her clarinet. See? So we would expect, go ahead, the bigger to go lower. And tubas, the biggest of all, they go the lowest of all. And that seems to be the rule. But like all rules, every so often you find a fascinating exception. And my favorite is elks. Yeah, I just said elks. Elks are very big. A full-grown bull elk averages more than 5 feet tall at the shoulders and can weigh between 700 and 1,100 pounds. And you look at a critter this size and you would naturally expect a deep basso voice, but when you hear an elk calling out, well, it's just embarrassing, really. They sound like mammalian canaries. Elk are odd. The animal that most resembles them is a red deer found in Asia and in Europe. And when a red deer calls out, it sounds, well, kind of like you would expect. Now compare that to the elk. And here's the deer again. Nobody knows exactly why elk developed this way. Their vocal cords are longer, but they've got muscles inside that constrict the sounds and have them go falsetto. But why? Why do this? The explanation is so unlikely, I'm just going to say it. It's wind. Elk live mainly in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, which, as this map shows, is an especially windy zone. And these deep blue lines you see here, they track high wind speeds roughly at the height of a tree. And when the tree is a pine or a spruce, as they are in the Rockies, wind creates a whistling noise that can get very loud for very long, even days at a time. These are the loudest trees I have ever encountered, says biologist David Haskell. It's like the forest is shouting. So where then does that leave an amorous elk? Well, when it comes time to mate, a male elk will go to a spot kind of alone where he can advertise, they call it bugling. He will cry out as loud as he can in the direction of some lady elks who may be 2 or even 3 miles away in all-female herds, cloistered somewhere in the forest where they gather and they listen. Meanwhile, other males in other places will cry out, bugling their love songs simultaneously, begging for attention. And they do this with the wind around them blowing fiercely, which should make it almost impossible for anyone to hear anything unless male elks can find a way to get around the wind. Nature gives them a choice. They can either pitch their voices low down under the wind or higher and higher up over the wind. Either way works, and evolution, it seems, has chosen the higher route. Wind takes up so much audible space in the Rocky Mountains that over the last 10,000 years, American elk have learned to sing in higher and higher register in order to reach females who hear them and then welcome the best performer into their herd where he can make babies. Lots of babies. And that's the key, reproductive success. So it may be that male elks sound like big canaries because going soprano gets them up over the wind barrier. Yeah, there could be other explanations. Female elks may find a high-voiced male just very sexy and choose them with or without wind. Sexual attraction matters in evolution, but so does environment. And as best we can tell, when you hear a big elk call out like a little bird, and you say, "What is that about?" we say, best guess? Blame the wind.
Wait a minute. The enemy is now in sight above the Palisades. Five great machines.
The classic Orson Welles radio broadcast, War of the Worlds, really did cause some panicked towns in New Jersey to evacuate. That was then. So look, up in the sky. Is that Santa's sleigh or is that a drone? Tom Hansen helps us sort things out.
Two there are flying, one's hovering.
Dating back a month now, you've either seen them in the sky or you've seen them on the news. Drones seem to be everywhere.
What is that?
Tonight, the mystery deepens as drones are now spotted in at least 6 states.
By most accounts, alleged drone sightings are multiplying exponentially, with more than 5,000 reported in just the past few weeks alone. But of those 5,000, only 100 or so have generated actual law enforcement leads. So what's the list of things that they actually could be seeing?
Number 1, it could be an aircraft in the area. Number 2, it could be the stars in the background. Number 3, it could be a reflection off of something that's like some kind of tower.
George Mason University engineering professor Missy Cummings has been doing drone research for 25 years.
Of all of those options, drone is the least likely because it's actually pretty hard to pick these out of the sky.
We heard a similarly ordinary explanation when we visited New Jersey's Monmouth County Sheriff Sean Golden this past week.
The majority of these sightings, probably some type of commercial or recreational aircraft, manned aircraft.
In other words, no imminent threat. As a joint statement from the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense, the FAA, and the FBI put it on Tuesday, we do not assess the activity to date to present a national security or public safety risk.
If you're actually looking at lights from a drone, it means that you're definitely not looking at a foreign adversary because they're sophisticated enough to turn the lights off.
This one's gonna fly over us right now.
And yet, some in the American public have been a little on edge.
And they're huge too, so I don't know what's going on.
Like they're recording people, or they're like just going around like sitting there, just looking at you?
We saw blinking, like lots of blinking things up in the sky to the south, right over the ocean.
1, 2, 3, like all coming together.
But Professor Missy Cummings says the best approach for now, we should all just try to stay grounded.
If I go on the news and tell you you have something to worry about, then you have something to worry about. But in this case right now, it's really, things are operating as usual.
Time for our Faith Saley to make some noise.
There is a quiet little corner of the internet getting louder and growing larger every day. Welcome to the whispery world of ASMR.
Today we are going to make some great ASMR tingles.
ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. That very scientific sounding mouthful refers to a pleasant tingling sensation some people experience in response to certain sounds or visuals.
It's a brain massage that's just so satisfying. It melts your brain and makes you feel fuzzy and so calm.
Maria Viktorovna should know. She's been called the ASMR queen.
Oh, I love it. Does it suit me well?
With 1.2 billion video views, it's easy to see why.
So one of my latest videos I did shaving of celebrity faces, and people pinpointed like, oh my God, can you do a whole video of that? So I did the whole video of that.
You understand this sounds, I don't want to sound judgmental.
Yeah.
This sounds strange.
A lot of ASMR triggers are sometimes out there and are very personal.
The first ASMR videos came out around 2009. Since then, it's been snap,
taking these crackers out of their wrapper.
crackle,
They came with my soup.
and popping its way into the mainstream. Even into a 2019 Super Bowl commercial.
So pure, you can taste it. This is my prop closet.
But for Viktorovna, who in 2014 was able to quit her receptionist job,
Just a comb in the plastic, but it sounds lovely.
and work on her channel full-time, the rewards are far beyond financial.
I get messages almost every single day. Some of the most touching stories I get are from people who have experienced some kind of hardship, and once they start watching videos, they kind of get lulled into that space of safety and calmness, and everything's okay.
So this one right here is a brain scan when they were feeling the tingles.
It's on fire.
Yeah, it's red, orange, yellow colors. I mean, those are the areas of the brain that are activated. So when someone feels the tingles, they say they feel euphoric.
Dr. Craig Richard is a professor of physiology at Shenandoah University in Virginia. He estimates only 20% of people are wired to experience ASMR.
Are those of us who don't feel it missing out?
The people who are experiencing it will tell you yes, because it's a beautiful thing to be able to just turn on an ASMR video, have this moments of euphoria, then have these moments of relaxation. So yeah, you may be missing out on that.
What else is missing is further research on ASMR. In some studies, it's been linked to lower blood pressure and heart rate. Craig Richard would like to see more.
Get that pile of research, especially that clinical-based research, up higher to show that this is a worthy medical treatment. How do you deliver ASMR in someone as a form of therapy?
Rebecca Benvey has taken a hands-on approach to ASMR therapy, opening up Whisper Wave in New York City just this year. It's one of the few in-person ASMR spas in the world.
So there are millions of people watching ASMR videos, and yet there aren't in real life ASMR places to go?
You know, customers will often say that they can't believe that this isn't more of a thing, and it's true. There's a huge gap in the market.
It brings about a feeling of peace, of just like calm, like an escape from the real world.
And I believe that this is sort of the natural evolution of the videos, is more in-person experiences that people can seek out. And I think that this is really just the beginning.
For now, most ASM artists, like Maria Viktorovna, are happy to remain online, whispering sweet nothings.
How are you feeling, my dear?
That can mean a whole lot.
Do you feel relaxed at all? I feel like a lot of people are stressed, and ASMR is so easy because it's online. You can just watch a video, and as you watch it, it somehow transports you into a different place, into a little island of peace. Let your light shine.
While a lot of us are talking about AI these days, our friend Robert Krulwich has something completely different on his mind.
Here's a little puzzle for you. When we hear this sound, and we want to write down what it is we're hearing, we write tick, tock, tick, tock. Now, you could say, and it wouldn't be wrong, that tock, tick, is also the sound of a clock ticking. Either way works pretty well, but for some reason we never ever put the tock in front of the tick. When we hear a horse walking down the street, we say it's going clippity-clop, clippity-clop. We never ever say cloppity-clip. We never say pong-ping, though a ping-pong ball can pong-ping, pong-ping, pong-ping just as well. In all these word pairs, and there are so many of them, you will notice that the first word in the pair always features the vowel I, as in ding-dong or bing-bong. The second word can have an O or an A or another I, but when you look down this list, I gets first position every single time, which is why you never hear about Kong King standing on toe tip eating a cat kit. It has to be King Kong on tiptoe eating a Kit Kat. The I words first. It's sort of like a rule I've never really thought about, but I've obeyed it all my life. The question is, why? What gives the vowel I such priority? Well, some say there's just something about the I, about that vowel, that makes you want to put it first, in a musical sense, like hip-hop. The I in hip is short, it's tight, it's quick. The O in hop, that's a little longer and a little lower. Hip-hop, hip-hop. Musically, the I feels more like a way to begin, hip, and the O more like a way to end, with hop. So hip-hop then becomes like a little baby song. Hip is the start, hop is the close, open to close, very satisfying. So maybe the explanation is simply musical. Or maybe it's simply mechanical. The reason we put I's first, what some people call mouth fatigue. It turns out some vowels are simply harder to say than other vowels, and you can learn this for yourself. All I have to do is give you the bit, bat, butt test. When you say the word bit, 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 your lips and your tongue barely move. It's just so easy. Bat, on the other hand, makes you have to open your mouth a little wider. Bat, bat. But. The vowel in but tenses your jaw and sends your tongue down lower. So you see what's happening here. Using the I first, it's like skiing in soft, fresh snow. Soft I's are so easy to say. Bing, bing, sing. Whereas bang, dang, sang, or bung, dung, sung, they're harder on the tongue, on the jaw, and on the lips. So one reason, and it may be the main reason, that we unconsciously like to start with the I vowel, the reason we choose splish, splash over splash, splish, is the same reason we don't go to the gym that often. Because deep down, we just don't like the exercise. When a vowel is even a teeny bit harder to say, why make the effort when you can choose something that's lighter and easier and more comfortable? So maybe that's why we put I words first, because it's the lazy option. And lazy is easy.
Along with the question over which TV show or movie to watch, increasingly there's another pressing question. Closed captions off or on? David Pogue spells it out.
There are a lot of TVs in the Pennsylvania household of Jason and Marilyn McMunn.
We have about 10.
We have a lot of TVs.
And out of the 10, how often are you watching with subtitles turned on?
Pretty much if the TV's on, the subtitles are on.
They're not unusual. Over half of Americans keep subtitles turned on some or all of the time, especially younger people. Technically, the term subtitles means translations into your language. But these days, people use the word subtitles to refer to closed captions, which were invented to help the hard of hearing.
And you, sir, should have surrendered when the empire collapsed.
But the McMunn's hearing is just fine. They keep subtitles on for all kinds of other reasons.
The parrot will be screaming, the kids will be doing stuff. It's a little bit of a circus.
I found that I was missing things, so with the subtitles, it just made that all a lot easier.
Also, because we're seeing more actors with accents.
That broomstick trick only works in old films.
I'd like to watch some of the British mystery things, and sometimes they're hard to understand.
And because thin TVs have thin speakers, usually firing out the back. As a kid, at bedtime, Rihanna even had a secret reason for turning on subtitles.
I'd turn the sound all the way down and I would turn on the subtitles. That way I could still watch my little YouTube videos without getting caught.
But according to the experts, the biggest reason of all for the rise of subtitles is this.
Dialogue is getting harder to hear.
Oscar winner Tom Fleischman has mixed the sound for some very famous movies. It's his job to balance the levels of the various audio tracks.
Paulie hated phones. He wouldn't have one in his house.
You got rain, you got pop music, you got dialogue.
Yeah, it was a real dance doing this mix.
But advancing technology has made his job harder. Decades ago, there was one microphone overhead.
Actors were trained on stage, and they had to let the audience hear them. With the advent of lapel mics, acting styles have changed. There's a lot of whispering. And, when they talk like this.
Kids are the only thing that matter, Maggie. They're the only reason for this old man-woman drama.
Wait, what did he say?
Kids are the only thing that matter, Maggie. They're the only reason for this old man-woman drama.
The invention of digital sound recording didn't help either.
Suddenly, we were able to run 200 tracks at once. A lot of layering, a lot of sound effects, a lot of music. It makes it harder to get the dialogue to read through it.
Finally, in this era of too much TV, often there's too little time and money.
You have to cut corners. You just can't spend enough time making sure every syllable is there in a word.
But does it ever happen that you send the final mix off knowing in the back of your head, well, that one line, no one's going to get?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Happens a lot.
Well, on behalf of the world, thank you for doing whatever you can do to make this stuff intelligible.
I'm trying.
Here we go.
And then there's the Christopher Nolan problem.
And action.
The dialogue in the movies he directs is famously unintelligible. Whether it's Oppenheimer,
Fred is calling to tell you the implosion test failed.
Hello, Hans. Yes, he's here.
Dunkirk,
She's turning, you must have damaged them.
Where's the escort?
or The Dark Knight.
Another evil rising from where we try to bury it.
Nolan has said he sometimes likes to use dialogue as a sound effect. So we get this.
We're working our way back to the 14th, but without knowing where the dead drop is, there's only so much I can do.
Streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime began adding captions to all their shows in the 2010s under pressure from the National Association of the Deaf. The subtitling profession got a huge boost.
I like to watch an episode or a movie through at least once. As the playback is continuing, I'm typing the captions in, I'm typing the subtitles in, I'm adjusting timing.
Jeff Toshige, through a subtitling contractor, writes the captions for Netflix shows like Stranger Things. His exuberant descriptions of sound effects have earned a cult following.
Oh, tentacles undulating moistly, there it is, boom! This became a viral...
Yeah, it definitely elicited some reactions.
All right, so I'm gonna try something.
Sure.
I would like you to close your eyes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna make some weird noises. So,
okay.
And I want you to tell me what you would say.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so here's the first noise.
Okay. Erratic clattering.
That's good. Okay, here's your second cue.
Okay. Furtive whickering.
Furtive whickering! Woo, man! You are a poet.
So now you know why the world's gone subtitle crazy. Because you're in a noisy place. Because you can't understand the actors.
You wanted me to pass a tide of a...
Because your speakers are terrible. Because there wasn't time or budget for proper sound mixing. Because the subtitles can add to the storytelling. Because the director was Christopher Nolan. And sometimes because you're hard of hearing.
Is there a downside to having the subtitles on?
Yeah, I just don't like the interference with the picture.
If the subtitles are on, I find myself reading instead of watching and listening.
But otherwise, for the McMunn family, there's no going back.
So let's say you win the audiovisual lottery and they buy you fancy surround sound systems for every TV in the house and the audio quality is no longer an issue. Do you think you would still turn the subtitles on?
Yes, I would.
I would.
I don't think I could stop now.
From LA to Chicago to New York. Noise is one big reason why 1 in 3 American adults doesn't get enough sleep.
You might have an upstairs neighbor that has loud shoes, garbage trucks at 3 in the morning, ambulances, fire trucks.
Psychologist Matthew Eben learned all about noisy nights years ago when he bought an apartment in Queens, New York.
It was unbelievably loud. It was about a half block away from the LIRR.
The Long Island Railroad.
Exactly.
Well, that's loud.
There was a bus that went up a hill in front of the apartment, and there was an ambulance that liked to park across the street.
This is torture.
It was torture.
A desperate man who didn't want to move, he turned to a white noise machine. Give me the layman's explanation of what white noise actually is.
It's the sound of a fan. It's the sound of an air conditioner. So if you have a constant noise, which is a little louder than these intrusions, you won't be woken up by the intrusions.
It seems odd in a way that the solution to too much noise is more noise.
Right.
That paradox intrigued Eben, a sleep specialist at Weill Cornell Medicine and New York Presbyterian. His research confirmed white noise's potential benefits.
What we found in our study is they slept more in general with the white noisemaker than without it, and they also fell asleep a bit faster.
At his offices, we sampled an array of machines, emitting everything from basic white noise, sounds a little bit like a fan,
right,
to so-called pink noise. That sounds like the ocean.
It does.
Which uses lower frequencies and which some research suggests can help with memory. What's that?
It sounds like a tropical rainforest.
And then there were a bunch of other random noises.
Loud rain.
Yeah, loud rain. Oh, I'm not even going to guess what that is.
It sounds like a heartbeat.
Is that going to help anybody sleep?
I wouldn't use that.
But white noise is often just what the doctor ordered. So this is sort of a lullaby for adults, right?
Yeah, I guess
so. Is that fair?
I think that's fair.
But enough about music. Time for Luke Burbank to turn up the heat.
Now they're coming for our stoves. You got to be kidding me.
Depending on which news outlets you tend to follow, it would be pretty easy of late to get the mistaken impression that someone might be coming for your gas stove.
So the Chinese government, by proxy, gets to decide how you cook your dinner.
But how exactly did this most recent skirmish in the culture war start? Well, it was almost a month ago when Richard Trumpka Jr. of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission told Bloomberg News everything was on the table when it comes to addressing the potential health risks posed by gas stoves.
Because of the symptoms I was getting when I would be here in the kitchen, I would always have my window open a little bit, always.
Maria Espada was only too happy to have her gas stove replaced. For 44 years, she's lived in the Watson houses of New York City's housing authority in the Bronx, and with what she says are the effects of her unventilated gas stove, including asthma.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all.
We recorded our own data and showed that just by taking out a gas stove, we can reduce nitrogen dioxide in someone's home by 35%.
Annie Carforo is with We Act for Environmental Justice, the group that replaced 18 gas stoves in Maria's building with stoves that use a newer technology called induction, because they and an increasing group of scientists, doctors, and chefs say so-called clean-burning natural gas is actually not the most healthy way to cook food inside your home.
What our data has shown is that natural gas is not as clean as we thought. It leaks inside your house, and these leaks are both damaging to the climate and to the health.
Eric LaBelle is a scientist for PSE Healthy Energy, a nonprofit research institute. In a recent peer-reviewed study, he examined just how much methane and other chemicals gas stoves emit into the home. Venting your kitchen is important, he says, but it isn't a perfect solution.
Nearly every stove that we measured emitted methane or natural gas while it was off, and that gas contains benzene. Meanwhile, while you use your stove, nearly every stove emits some amount of nitrogen dioxide, which can be, it's a respiratory irritant and it can be damaging to your health.
LaBelle's study is one of the many that link the pollutants from gas stoves to elevated levels of asthma, particularly in children. Studies the gas industry, strongly refutes.
Because it's gas, it seals in juiciness and flavor while it broils.
It turns out America's love affair with so-called natural gas is no accident. It's the result of a concerted effort by the gas industry to sell its product. And it's worked. More than 1/3 of Americans use gas to cook at home.
Say, now you're cooking with gas.
Natural gas. We use gas to cook our food, heat and cool our homes.
There's something very human, very intimate about cooking over an open flame inside your kitchen.
And for many years, gas stoves were inarguably superior to electric when it came to cooking. But these days, many chefs will tell you,
I much prefer this to using a gas stove.
Induction cooking has more than caught up.
How fast does water boil when you're using this technology?
So I just put this on. Water boils twice as fast. We can watch water boil. It's a thing now.
So this is a watch pot that actually is going to boil.
I know. I have been working with induction for so many years, and I always still have a sense of wonder about it.
Rachel Boucher has been a professional chef for over 20 years, cooking for celebrity clients. These days, she's part of the Building Decarbonization Coalition, a group funded by electric utilities, appliance makers, and tech companies that evangelizes for what she calls the magic of induction cooking.
So instead of heating something up, it starts to move the molecules in the pan, and it creates friction, and that makes your pan into your heat source.
Induction doesn't heat up your kitchen, as she showed me with a little crispy skinned salmon that she whipped up. It also doesn't put out the same emissions as gas stoves.
Now, if you notice something, we're standing here. There's a lot of cooking going on. What is not happening? What do we not feel around here?
Any kind of tremendous amount of heat.
Amazing.
Meanwhile, back in the Bronx, Maria Espada was also cooking salmon on her induction stove.
Wow.
Albeit with a little less fanfare. A simple act she hopes to enjoy in her home for the foreseeable future.
Are you planning on cooking on this stove for the next 40 years?
If I'm still here, yes. I did ask, can I take it with me?
Well, they say you can't take it with you, right? But you were going to try?
It's a fact in nearly every country in the world, women live longer than men. But why? Nancy Giles adds it all up.
Each month, this group of Floridians gets together, recently for a tour of a local museum.
We call ourselves Whisters, like widow sisters. Like a Whisters.
Widow sisters. Durga Landry is a member of the group, called Modern Widows Club. All the women have outlived their husbands or partners. It's a unique group, but their shared experience is not. Around the globe, women live longer than men, and it's been that way for decades.
I do feel like the stress levels make a difference. Women manage the stress levels better, and they can talk about their feelings. Whereas I think men actually tend to bottle it up, which actually can cause stress.
Landry isn't wrong. That's actually one of many reasons women are outliving men, according to Dr. Janine Austin Clayton, Director of Research on Women's Health at the National Institutes of Health.
On average, women live in the United States almost 6 years longer than men do. And, there are complex reasons for that. Women actually are more likely to seek medical care than men are. There are 3 times more men than women have not seen a doctor in the previous year. And so that help-seeking behavior also translates into consequences. And those are opportunities to diagnose diseases early. At every age, men take more risks than women do. And that risk translates into twice as many fatal car crashes, 10 times as many workplace fatalities. Men smoke more than women do, and men die from more drug overdoses than women do.
But social factors aren't the only ones at play.
The very obvious thing that biologists know about women is that women have 2 X chromosomes. Men just have 1, and this little Y chromosome.
Dr. Thomas Perls is the founding director of the New England Centenarian Study and a professor at Boston University's School of Medicine.
The X chromosome is loaded with a large number of genes. Many of those genes, we think, play a role in how people age. And women, with having 2 X chromosomes, the cells in women can essentially choose between the better copy of the gene.
But I mean, are women just by nature of our biology just going to always live longer than men?
Well, certainly there's obstacles that women can put in their way, but with all things equal in terms of really good health behaviors, the biology in women is going to win out.
There's no denying the longevity gap favors women, but further understanding why could ultimately help us all.
The vast majority of centenarians are women, 85% are women. One of our best approaches to understanding this puzzle of why some people live to extreme old age is understanding the differences between men and women.
The biggest mystery this morning wasn't the time change, but what happened after you woke up.
Something that people do every single day, multiple times a day, and they'll do it for their entire life.
The question of why we yawn is what drives Andrew Gallup to get out of bed every day. He's a professor at the State University of New York Polytechnic Institute.
It's a far more complex behavior than meets the eye.
It's a behavior that begins before birth. That's right. Doctors have even observed babies yawning in utero.
Is it fair to say to yawn is to be human?
To yawn is to be a vertebrate. Birds yawn, other mammals yawn. Yawn-like behaviors are observed even in fish and reptiles and amphibians. So it's a really ancient response.
We humans, it turns out, are superlative yawners.
The average duration of yawning in humans is about 6 seconds. And we've actually studied the duration of yawning across different mammals, and we've found that humans are the longest yawners.
Why do you think that is?
Well, we've shown that yawn duration is robustly correlated with brain size and cortical neuron numbers.
So maybe our big brains need that 6-second jaw-gaping, eye-watering inhalation to get some oxygen.
There's actually no support for that hypothesis. Yawning does not function to increase oxygen in our blood.
Gallup's research has shown that what yawning does do is increase blood flow to our brains, cooling them like a radiator cools a car engine. It's your brain's way of actually increasing alertness.
Why it's important to have a cool brain is because brains operate most efficiently at an optimal temperature.
Should we be flattered then when someone yawns in our presence? Is that person really trying to focus on what we're saying?
Yeah, when people yawn in classrooms or in front of other people, it actually represents an attempt for them to maintain attention and focus, and it indicates that they're actually paying attention to you.
I've been hearing it in this room, like, regularly.
So it's fair to say this professor at Cornell University got the wrong message.
If I hear one more of these overly loud yawns, get up and walk the hell out!
It was one of those summits. No, not boring, but long.
Yawning is common among individuals right before public speaking events. Yawning has been documented among paratroopers right before they jump out of planes. And yawning is also very common among Olympic athletes right before competition. And it's not because they're sleepy. It seems that yawning is a response that helps prepare individuals for action.
Still, misperceptions about yawning persist. In fact, in 2009, one judge actually sentenced someone to jail for disrupting the court by yawning. All of which is to say, we won't fault you if you've yawned your way through this very story. Yawning is highly contagious.
You can think about wild animals needing to be alert and watching for predators. And so if you're getting drowsy, but it's not time to rest, catching a yawn of someone else might make you more alert and therefore, okay, I'm not going to fall asleep. I'm going to be in tune with the group.
According to Professor Matthew Campbell of California State University Channel Islands, contagious yawning is actually one way certain social animals, including us humans, show empathy towards each other.
We think that empathy is about adopting the feelings of others, so you get kind of on the same page of them. You're happy if they're happy, you're sad if they're sad. That allows you to bond and respond appropriately to individuals.
So a contagious yawn is not only something we share with creatures large and small, it's a way we relate to one another.
You're seeing that emotional connection, that body connection that is involuntary and appears to be pretty deep in our evolution.
When you frame it that way, they are this dramatic manifestation of our connection with each other.
When you see a yawn caught by another individual, you catch someone else's yawn, and it says something about the positive aspect of their relationship. And yeah, I think there's something beautiful there.
Hurry up and wait. Watchwords for our exasperating times. But there's another phrase to remember. Patience is a virtue. As Barry Peterson learned when he set out to report our cover story in those pre-pandemic days of not so very long ago.
You've seen the pictures. Wherever you vote this year, you know there's a good chance you need to be ready to wait and wait and wait.
We've been here 8 hours and 30 minutes.
At the polls, at the grocery store, in traffic, we Americans are weary of waiting. But consider this. Even before the pandemic, we spent an estimated 2 years of our lives waiting in lines. And with COVID cases on the rise again, it's fair to say many of us just can't wait for things to get back to normal. But it turns out impatience may be almost as dangerous as the virus itself. People are just so anxious to return to what used to be. It seems a dangerous trend.
You know, there was an interesting study where they gave people the choice to sit alone and get bored or give themselves painful electric shock. And about 70% men chose to give themselves painful electric shocks versus sit alone and get bored. So people don't like to get bored. People do not like to be controlled. People do not like uncertainty.
But that's only the half of it. The other half is our genes. Dr. Ahmed Sood founded a department that researches impatience at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Before the pandemic, he told us why.
We're designed to be impatient. So when little babies are born, they don't just wait for you to clean their diapers, they cry. And when was the last time you really preferred a slow elevator? Or you loved, slow internet connection?
It turns out how we handle ourselves in these uncertain times comes at a price.
The opposite of patience is not impatience. The opposite of patience is anxious, ill, injured, addicted, lonely, and dead.
It literally can kill you.
It can. An episode of explosive anger, stress, or impatience can increase your risk of heart attack and sudden death by 2 to 8-fold for the next few hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
If that's not alarming enough, Dr. Sood says impatience can even have a long-term effect on your DNA.
If we were to take your blood sample and measure your telomeres, which are at the end of chromosomes, the shorter they are, the smaller they are, the older you are. And people who are impatient have shorter telomeres.
So they're actually making themselves older by being impatient.
Yeah, some people say the only thing that gets faster with impatience is aging.
And impatience has an evil twin brother, stress.
Try to stay as relaxed as possible.
I took the Mayo Clinic stress test, designed to simulate the stress of everyday life.
Go ahead and start gripping.
You must do things like keep squeezing a grip,
Squeeze a little more.
or endure 3 minutes keeping a hand in ice-cubed, freezing water. Really and truly, that already hurts.
30 seconds left.
The results, dramatically higher blood pressure and changes to the heartbeat. So what was the reaction to the ice water test? The test was overseen by Dr. Michael Joyner.
Big rise in blood pressure.
What I'm reminded of is like being on the phone, trying to get customer service, where you feel like you're endlessly waiting. Can that have the same effect on your body?
Absolutely. People have a very hard time understanding what they do and don't have control over.
It can feel like the world is out of control these days, but we do have control over ourselves.
If you choose to be patient, you're helping yourself, you're living longer and happier, and you're helping your loved ones. Being patient is a choice.
Dr. Sood says the other word that will help us through the pandemic is resilience, and that will fire up your body.
You do not have any bullets, you do not have any swords, you can't fist fight with this virus. You can empower your billions of immune cells to fight with this virus, and when you're resilient, your immune cells are stronger in waging that war.
And boosting your resilience can be a walk in the park, literally.
There's so many elements of nature that we respond to as humans.
Florence Williams traveled the world, writing about how nature can help us master impatience and make us healthier.
The science is pretty clear on this. Even after just 15 minutes of walking in a green space or a park, our blood pressure drops a little bit, our heart rate slows down, and even our stress hormones like cortisol lower.
It's got to be all good, right?
It boosts our moods very dramatically.
No surprise, the frustration of lockdowns quickly gave way to people flooding the outdoors when they could and feeling better for it. And some take it to a new level of calm, doing something the Japanese invented called forest bathing, basically hiking in slow motion.
The benefit of slowing down is that your life isn't passing you by.
Jane West is a psychologist who leads forest bathing sessions in the Colorado Rockies.
I think being in a forest, surrounded by green and wonderful smells, allows us to be lost in this moment, as if nothing else exists. And I know that's so hard to find these days, but it is doable, it's reachable. And I do this because it gives me those moments.
The pandemic won't end anytime soon, but Dr. Sood insists we can turn our impatience to good use if we just want to. Is there an opportunity to make ourselves better by training ourselves about patience?
Absolutely. There is tremendous opportunity during this pandemic to rise because of it.
That ability to rise above may be sorely tested, since, as we've heard, ballot counting could go on for days after November 3rd. For Americans, for America, what might be the ultimate test?
Admit it. If you have a lawn, you may spend part of this holiday weekend making sure your grass is always greener. If so, Martha Teichner tells us you're in good company.
You're not seeing things.
It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It's just like if you were in your backyard.
Well, no. Terry and Michael Wilkie's lawn is on the 24th floor roof of a Chicago high-rise. That's Lake Michigan, way down there. Chances are the only resemblance their lawn has to yours is this.
We get dandelions.
We get a lot of dandelions. I don't know how it gets up here.
The lawn, as well as the Wilkies' baronial 8,000 square foot penthouse apartment, can be had for a mere $24.5 million. They're for sale. What is it with Americans and their lawns? According to a 2005 NASA study, we've planted something like 40 million acres of grass. We spend $40 billion a year on tending it. So no surprise, coronavirus has made Americans lawn care crazy.
You could argue that the perfect lawn is the perfect coping mechanism in a world that's been turned upside down.
Historian Ted Steinberg is the author of American Green, the obsessive quest for the perfect lawn. His own lawn in Shaker Heights, Ohio, is not perfect. Once upon a time, only landed gentry with legions of servants, in particular the British aristocracy in the 18th century, had lawns. It wasn't until after World War II that ordinary middle-class Americans found themselves in possession of, and subsequently possessed by, their own lawns when they moved to brand new suburbs. It was the Cold War. America had an enemy, the Soviet Union. Americans had an enemy too, weeds.
Evil weeds.
Rallying those weed warriors,
It kills dandelions, clover.
the Scott's Company.
It ran advertising campaigns
Looking good.
that linked people's personal identity to the kind of landscape they had around their home.
Today, with annual sales already topping $3 billion,
This is a Scott's yard.
Scott's is experiencing a bonanza year thanks to the coronavirus lockdown. Sales of its lawn and garden products this season up 24%. So the pandemic is creating new lawn fanatics.
It's creating a segment of new users or new participants that are learning how easy it is to maintain a lawn.
Is that corporate speak for we hope so? Mark Slavens is Vice President of Research and Development for Scott's Miracle-Gro.
We love the lawn fanatics.
He's got that funny grass dance that I really think the lawn likes.
And Scott's has learned that making fun of itself and its best customers is great advertising.
I mean, I'm very big on skin with lawn, right?
We wanted to meet a real lawn nut and see how coronavirus has affected his obsession.
I was mowing and I noticed, there's 13 stripes from the road to the garden bed here. And I thought, wow, I could probably put a flag right there.
So we went to visit Zach Williams in upstate New York. He's been mowing the American flag into his lawn for the 4th of July the past 2 summers.
And I knew that it was pretty cool, so I thought maybe this could go viral. That'd be kind of cool. And it did. Last winter was kind of rough for me. I kept looking forward to summer or spring so that I could get back on the lawn.
How much does Zach Williams love his grass?
So this year I'd cut these plugs out and I planted them in some pots, and I thought they would be great Christmas gifts too.
So when you see all these machines lined up on your lawn, what happens inside? Some people are into sports cars, not Zach.
The one that really gets me excited is the one by you, Martha, there. That's a John Deere greens mower. They use it on golf courses. And I really want to get on this orange mower here and just full throttle rip it down the lawn.
Top speed, 8 miles an hour. His family, you might say, goes along for the ride. Last fall, Williams decided to turn his passion into a sideline business, cutting and caring for other people's lawns at night and on weekends. Good thing he did. Thanks to COVID-19, his day job in the travel industry, gone.
Being able to cut the lawn into those nice patterns, which I like to do, does give me some order and sense of calm right now.
In a world suddenly all cockeyed, for Zach Williams, there's nothing quite like straight stripes.
You can look at it and it just makes you feel good.
Catching some Z's is one way of saying you're taking a nap. And while some may dismiss you as just a lazy bones, many experts are waking up to napping's many benefits. Susan Spencer counts the ways.
CEO Brian Halligan admits it. He sleeps on the job.
So describe your naps.
I typically take them in the afternoon after lunch. They're a half hour long.
His naps even find a place on his calendar.
It wouldn't be out of the question for your schedule to say 9 o'clock budget meeting, 11 o'clock finance meeting, 12:30 my nap.
Yes, more like 1:30 or 2 my nap.
But it's considered a normal part of your day.
Yes, almost every day.
Almost every day?
Yes.
Whoever said you snooze, you lose never met Halligan. The Boston area tech company that he and a partner founded now has 3,300 employees and is worth $8 billion.
People are surprised that the head of an $8 billion company is sleeping his way through the afternoon.
It's only a half hour. It's only a half hour.
But it may just be the most important half hour of his day.
Some of my best ideas I've had are when I'm kind of falling in and falling out of sleep. And it's like that eureka moment.
Describe for me what it is about this process that you think somehow invigorates you, I guess.
I have this impression in my mind of when I fall asleep, there's this little tiny man with a mustache and a broom and like a dustpan, and he goes around and he like cleans up inside my brain. So when I wake up, it's like a clean room, and I'm like very energized, and my mind is open, and I'm ready to receive more information and process it in a much better way.
And you are not at all self-conscious about talking about the man with the broom.
No.
The best window for a nap is actually the mid-afternoon.
So 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Perfect.
Dr. Charles Seisler heads up the sleep medicine division at the Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, and he's a big fan of naps.
If I'm at work and I take a nap, am I going to be performing better after that nap?
You will, because actually you will consolidate some of the information you learned during the daytime, and you'll be able to remember it better after that nap.
Just ask the folks at NASA. They found that pilots who napped an average of just 26 minutes improved performance by 34%. And other studies link napping to better cognition, sharper memory, less frustration.
And if your boss comes along?
You can explain to your boss that this is how you're keeping your performance at its best.
Good luck with that one.
But in 2013, Dr. Seisler made that very pitch to the Boston Red Sox, who worried that lack of sleep was hurting their game. His advice? Put a nap room in the clubhouse.
Once the nap room was finished, did anybody bother with it? They use it?
Oh yeah, in fact, you couldn't get in because it was so popular with the players.
It hasn't happened! You may recall that later that season, the well-rested Sox won the World Series.
This is just amazing.
And their sleep doctor got a championship ring.
Has your name?
Right, it has my name, which is kind of cool.
What it should have are a bunch of little Z's.
Right.
The Red Sox joined a long list of celebrated nappers, from Leonardo da Vinci to Eleanor Roosevelt to John F. Kennedy.
Winston Churchill, he believed in not holding back. Fueled by a breakfast consisting of brandy, among other things, he would routinely take a nap from 2 to 4. This is during the war. Get under the covers, take off his clothes. This is not just falling asleep on a couch.
And we won the war.
Precisely.
Virginia Tech professor Roger Ekirch is a sleep historian. He says that until the 18th century, most Europeans and North Americans slept in 2 separate chunks.
Generally, people went to bed between 9 and 10 p.m.
Okay, that's kind
They
of normal.
slept for 3.5 hours. They awakened not long after midnight.
And then they do what?
People reflected upon dreams, they meditated, they prayed, there were special prayers.
For how long did they stay awake before they entered the second phase?
Up to an hour or so.
The Industrial Revolution and its emphasis on productivity ended all that.
Our attitude towards sleep changed. Sleep, became associated with lethargy.
The stigma stuck. According to a new CBS News poll, 1 in 5 Americans thinks napping is a sign of laziness.
Why do you think naps have such a bad name?
Well, I can quote Ben Franklin. Up, sluggard.
Sluggard?
Up, sluggard, sleep not. There's more than time enough to sleep in the grave.
Ooh, that makes you think. This is not exactly part of American corporate culture, is it?
I don't know.
They don't teach naps at the Harvard Business School.
I don't think they do, no.
No.
But sleep is a topic of study at Emory University in Atlanta.
No one has the actual disease.
Where Professor Dana Johnson is an epidemiologist.
How long is the ideal nap?
So you want to nap 10 to 20 minutes.
That doesn't seem like very long.
She says naps are okay. Just don't snooze your life away.
People that are sleep deprived should definitely have a nap during the day to help them feel restored. But, on the other side of it, a nap could also impact your sleep at night. And so you end up in this cycle of poor sleep at night, then you sleep a little bit during the day.
So naps, in your view, are basically for emergency use only.
It's for, right, that's a good way to put it. It's for when you need it.
So this is like a nap lover's heaven, right? We're
Oh,
surrounded by
absolutely.
mattresses.
We met Johnson in a high-end mattress showroom. In a country where naps are shunned, sleep-deprived Americans searching for shuteye spend almost $30 billion a year on everything from weighted napping blankets to sleep-enhancing pajamas to, well, this.
Slipping on the ostrich pillow envelops your head in a cocoon of comfort.
No ostriches needed for Brian Halligan's naps, however.
So this is the most popular room in the company.
He simply retreats to his company's designated snooze spot, the so-called Van Winkle room, where employees can sign up to catch a few Z's anytime.
A beach umbrella?
Yeah.
And a hammock?
Relaxing.
In fact, the room is so popular, he may even add a second Van Winkle.
So you agree with Yogi Berra. I usually take a 2-hour nap from 1 to 4. Words to live by.
Yeah, I guess so. Yogi's a wise man.